Hi all, Monster Forge here, and a couple of weeks ago it was my birthday, and for my birthday my sister gave me an Amazon gift card, and with it I got this. Um, yeah, so I had always been interested in this Megatron. It's kind of a dream come true for a Transformers and G.I.Joe fan to have a Megatron that transforms into a H.I.S.S tank. Such a happy thing. But I always balked at the price tag on this set. I think it was somewhere around $100. It was like 90 something bucks for it, and I just said no, 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 no. But when I was looking at things on Amazon that I might want to get, with the gift card, I saw that they had this on sale for $50. And said that's the only opportunity I'm gonna get to get this thing, because I'm not paying full price for it. My only gripe, and a lot of people really don't like this set, and I understand why. At the $90 price point, this thing is a piece of crap. At $90, if that's the retail price on this thing, 90 bucks, no way is this worth 90 bucks. 50, not so bad. So I empathize with those folks that were ticked off about this thing at the retail price. At the lower price, not really. I love this thing. I really, 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 really like this thing. My only nitpick is it should have been Cobra Commander that came with him. Because how cool would it be to have the leader of the Decepticons and the leader of Cobra together in one of the flagship tanks of Cobra? That would have been perfect. It's not that I hate the Baroness. I do like the Baroness, and I like this Baroness figure. But I just, I never really saw the two of them working together. I've seen where we've had Baroness and Ravage together, and I think that's a cool combination because, a tough, sexy gal boss that has a cool cat with her, and they're both in the black, It's really cool together, but just for me personally, I wouldn't have picked Baroness for Megatron. Just me. You might like it just fine. But a quick look at the packaging. Now, this is not an unboxing because I've already unboxed it. Unboxing a Transformer and then fumbling around trying to... I'm going to have enough trouble transforming it on video anyway. But, yeah, I'm just not playing the game of trying to learn it on there. But the packaging is really nice. It looks like they did a really good job separating the sides, because this looks like old G.I.Joe packaging, and this looks sort of like old Transformer packaging, with especially for the Decepticons, with the purple and the grid and everything, and the explosion on the G.I.Joe side. Even like the picture of the boxed Baroness in there, that's nice. The tops too, like that looks like old G.I. Joe packaging, old Transformers packaging that would show the products and the transformation. And likewise, I'm going to be moving the camera a lot on this one because the package is so big. Same thing here. And on this side, you get the picture of the H.I.S.S tank, which is nice, like the old G.I. Joe packaging. You get the G.I. Joe X Transformers logo here. All that kind of good fun stuff there. And on the back of it, kind of funny because the back of it, you have the Transformers stuff in the background all over. The G.I. Joe logo, Transformers logo, the H.I.S.S tank, and then just Megatron over here with the Baroness. But it's a really nice set. Like I said, I've already opened it up, so the way it does open is it slides out like this, and then you just get the brown Hasbro mailer thing or package that you usually get with like the selects figures. There's nothing really to speak of, I don't think. Oh yeah, sorry, my bad. There's some surveillance has detected spies scouting Cobra base. Unauthorized vehicle is identified as Subject B. Be prepared to intercept. Their sting is sharp. We are poised to strike. So you got Megatron has infiltrated the Cobra base, but as it turns out, they both were evil enough to work together. So that's the packaging. Now, like I said, I unboxed it already. One thing that I didn't unbox, and I don't plan to, is the Baroness, because I don't have any of the vintage G.I. Joe figures in package anymore from when I was a kid, which I never kept them in packages. You know, when I was a kid, you took them out and played with them. But I kind of like the way she looks in the package, and I think I'm gonna leave her in there because, like I said, I didn't really particularly want the Baroness figure displayed with Megatron. I'm trying to locate a vintage Cobra Commander to go with him. And I might just use one of the Super 7 reaction Cobra Commanders, just to have a figure with that Megatron. But it's a nice figure. Now, this packaging doesn't look like back in the day, because if I remember correctly, the old G.I. Joes didn't have this inner blister to hold them in place. They just kind of wobbled around in the package. But it is similar to how the weapons and all the gear would be done on the vintage packaging, and I just like it. I think it looks really good. From what I remember, they're using the same artwork from back then, and they have her file card, which if you want to read that, it's just a really simplified version of her file card from back in the day, and you get the picture of Baroness with the H.I.S. tank, which is really Megatron. Shh, don't tell anybody. But yeah, I just want to kind of keep it like that. Alright, well, let's not mince any more words, and let's take a look at the big boy himself. And when I say big boy, I mean big boy. This is a huge figure. He's easily bigger than my Metroplex that I showed before. This Megatron, from head to toe, I haven't measured him yet, so I don't really know. But from head to toe, not from the top of the guns, but from head to toe, he's 10 inches tall, but he's like 8 inches wide. And from the top of the gun turret, he's like 10.5 inches tall. And I do have his legs out a little bit, so that takes a little bit of the height away. But he's just a big, chunky beast. And I love him. Now, a lot of people that did reviews of this figure complained about several things. One being the hollowness, which you can see a little bit of that there with his leg. And I understand that is part of it. Like I said, at the $90 price point, I would be kind of ticked off if I paid $90 for this figure set and got a hollow mess. And he kind of is. Like, most of his parts, you know, are hollow. But what is nice is the hollow parts at least are sculpted inside of there. There's a lot of sculpted detail when you look into it. Now, another thing that people complain about is the backpack. He has like the whole half of a H.I.S. tank hanging off of his back. But really, this Transformer really, you know, a lot of people are fussing about all this stuff, but if you really look back, this is supposed to be kind of a nod to the old retro stuff. And the old Transformers, they you know, the kibble, the parts that looked like the vehicle that hung off of them was always ridiculous. You know, that was just part of it. You know, we're lucky we get figures like this that are this big. Understanding, you know, if I had paid $90 for this thing, I'd have been like, what's with all this mess? But another thing that harkens back to the old stuff is you had the Transformers were vehicle mode first in consideration, and robots second. So what that means is they were concentrating on getting out a product that looked like the vehicle, because that was the disguise form, and the robot was secondary concern, because it was like, oh, we got to find some way to turn this thing that looks like an actual vehicle into a robot. And same applies with this. This thing, when it transforms, is almost identical to a vintage H.I.S. tank. I don't have a vintage H.I.S. tank, but I do have the H.I.S. tank 2, I think it is. And I'll show that later. Well, I'll show it with him right now, so you can kind of see like the size. That's the H.I.S. tank 2, and that's it next to Megatron. So the H.I.S. tank 2, I think, is just a remolded H.I.S. tank. I could be wrong. It's dusty as I'll get out right now, like everything else of mine. I can only apologize so much for dust. But anyway, taking a look at the robot mode of this Megatron, I just think he looks great. He looks like, I mean, obviously he doesn't look exactly like Megatron usually looks, because he's got the parts on him of the H.I.S. tank. And really in the, I think it was IDW, or I don't remember what comic books did a G.I.Joe Transformers crossover, when the Transformers took the form of G.I.Joe vehicles or Cobra vehicles. They modified their look to fit the parts of those vehicles, so that doesn't really bother me there. Matter of fact, I think he looks pretty cool with those big shoulder pads and the guns on his back and the big rocket things on his legs, the big treads and all. It looks really cool. To me, it's just natural for Megatron. You know, they wouldn't turn him into a gun, because God forbid we have a gun Megatron. But the next best thing is Megatron as a tank, because that's really just a gun with treads on it. So I think it was natural to have him become a H.I.S. tank, because he would team up with Cobra Commander if given the opportunity. But he just looks really sweet with his shield, the H.I.S. tank parts on him, the gun turret on top. And you know, I don't have a Cobra Commander yet. I have different Cobra Commanders, but not really one I wanted to put with this kind of vintage style figure. But I do have, for now, a stand-in, which is this Super 7 reaction bat, which is a really nice figure. Didn't pay Super 7's prices for it. Never would. This in no way, shape, or form is a $20 figure. But paying $5 for him at Ross, heck yeah. But as you can see, he fits into the turret. Well, let me get his hands just right, because it's a little tight in there. I had him going in there earlier. Anyway, yeah, you can see that's the interactive function of the figures with the Megatron there. They kind of man the turret while he's manning the hand cannon here. So you can kind of pose them to look like they're about to go into battle. With his shield and everything. And I think that looks superb. You know, that looks like that looks exactly like what I wanted out of this figure. Guns ablazing, Cobra, Decepticons united, pretty cool stuff. But I'll go through the articulation and then the transformation, which is really cool. Like it's one of the most satisfying transformations once it's done. It's kind of frustrating when you're doing it, and doing it on camera is going to be a lot of fun. But anyway, articulation wise, his head is on a ball joint, so he can look all around. Let's see. The turret on his back turns all the way around because it's part of the H.I.S. tank function. An added little bonus, he's got the shield here, which can come off, but you can take the guns off of the H.I.S. tank turrets and pop them onto his wrists, so he can have, you know, on his wrist there. If I can get that to focus there. There you go. Or you can put them in his hand. They don't, the little pegs, they work, but it's kind of an awkward position for them, and they kind of want to pop out, but that's not really where they're supposed to go. They fit up here. And the ion cannon, it can fit up here too, so he can actually have the guns on top if you want to, you know, for whatever reason. But anyway, okay, so he's got a ball joint at the neck, so he's very expressive. His arms go all the way around. Well, not really. They kind of hit up against things, and you'll notice as you goof around with this thing that it'll kind of pop apart if you're not careful. So it isn't the most secure connection on some of these things. Like this part right here will come out, and if it does, the H.I.S. tank back will slide in a little bit. But the shoulder pads go up, and you can get a little bit more range on them if you have them up, and you can kind of do them like this. But the arm will go all the way around. It kind of bumps into the chassis back there in the back. Like I said, they go all the way out to the side. He has a bicep rotation and a bend at the elbow, which is it's right at 90 degrees. No wrist articulation. He wants to pop out. If you get it just right and kind of press in, you can get them to move out without popping that joint, but it's not the tightest connection. Hold on, get a little bit more comfortable here. Looking down a little bit further, he has these missile pods on his hips, and they're on a ball joint, so you can move them around. You can have them kind of hiding out of the way if you want to, but I like having them down there on the hip. It kind of reminds me of the Super Megatron design from a while back. He had all those missile pods and all on him. This is a transformation feature, but you know, hey, you can have that open if you want to. Maybe he has an evil matrix. He doesn't. There's kind of an ab crunch. See if you can activate it. Yeah, there's kind of an ab crunch, so you can kind of get him to bend, but it's like it has to snap in place. Now, as far as the hips go, he can kick all the way out to the side. Well, almost all the way out. If you turn his hip this way and get the pods out of the way, maybe, you know, he can kick out pretty far, but it is kind of stress the plastic there. But his legs kick this much forward and that much back, and he dropped his gun. And it's got outside movement. It's kind of clicky. The joints are kind of clicky this way, but and he's got really tight knees. That's one thing, you know, when you go to transform him, those knees are really tight. He doesn't really have toe articulation. You can move the toes, like, you know, if you wanted to have him like jumping or whatever, for whatever reason. Or maybe flying, because, you know, the Decepticons do fly. You can adjust the toes down like that. And it's not really a point of articulation, but just something to take note of. He's got these heel spurs. He's got these heel spurs here which fold in. And if you don't have them, he can stand, but he is really prone to tipping over if you don't have those. So it's nice that they have those little heel spurs that pop out, and they don't really clip in, but they just kind of stop short. So yeah, he's a nice figure, and he's big and chunky. That's one thing I love about him, is that he's a big chunky guy. But let's see what we can do about transforming this guy. I'm trying to get this adjusted so you can see more. All right, this is the way I like to do it. Because it comes out neater, is to take the turret and turn it back this way, and I kind of point them up as much as I can for clearance reasons. Now, the instructions on this guy are kind of crappy, like they're really hard to see, and it's kind of hard to tell what's going on, so I had to do a lot of trial and error to learn it. But what you do is you pull this all the way out, but then you keep going with it. Like it goes past this. The instructions don't really show that all that well. So it's like, how do I get this part to move? It's, you have to push it all the way out, and you do that on both sides. You pull it all the way out, and then you can take. And one thing I like is, like, in all these parts that are hollow, they do have panels all sculpted in there, and there's like rivets and everything, so it's really cool. But what you do then is you fold this down, all the way down on both sides like this, and then you flip these parts back, and you have the straightened out parts for the front of the H.I.S. tank. And let's see, what you do then is you flip these parts up, and once you get it about halfway through, if you're familiar with like a lot of the Masterpiece figures, you get like the floppy area where things flop around a little bit. No different here. This part will want to flip around because it's actually designed to flip around, but you don't want it to go all the way that way yet. You want to, at this point, let's see, am I doing this right? I think so. Yeah, this whole part comes loose and comes out like that. So it's a double hinge thing that it comes straight out like that. And this will pop out at a certain point, this little part right here, but for now you want to keep it in and just keep his head straight like that. Now another thing, here you go. I just like to flip it around like this at this point and get those arms down like that, because what we're going to work on right now is getting the legs and everything right. So you're going to take these and pull them down this way. And one thing you can do is you can go ahead and get these parts around here, and you'll see there are these tabs right here on the sides of his chest, and there's a little slot right here. You just slot those bad boys in like that, and that'll kind of keep all this stuff out of your way for a little bit. Come on, boy. Let's see. There we go. I got it tabbed in there, and that'll just kind of keep everything out of your way for a minute. Now, what you want to do now is work on the legs a little bit. And you take them, and like I said, these joints are really tight, but one thing you want to do first is kick the heel spurs in like this, and you don't fold the feet up yet. That comes in later, but you bend the, all right, you bend the knees all the way in, and there's a little peg hole in the crotch right there, and there's these little pegs on the hip, on the back of the shin that plug in, and you do that on both sides, and it's really tight. So, and that's a good thing. You want the joints to be tight and all. So now what you do is you take that ab crunch that you had, and you flip it down, and these parts of the treads, which were those hip skirt things, they plug in right here, like you can see. It plugs in right there on both sides of that. So what you'll do now is you take, get this down here. My arms are already tired. You take these panels, and it's these kind of a hinge that comes out to the side, and you'll bring it all the way around. And what you'll want to do is you want to turn the arms and keep them out like this, and bring this whole thing around. And you'll turn the arm down and kind of bend it, but what you'll want to do is it's going to go down in this space here under the feet, and that's one of the reasons why the thing is so like hollow, is that everything has a place to go, and so it has room for things like the legs fold in on themselves, the arms go in here. So you just take the arms and you kind of straighten them out down into that and make sure everything's lined up right. And you do the same thing over here. You kind of get the front of the tank up like that, and you bring that arm around, and you turn the arm and point it down and shoot it into that spot inside the leg there, and then you'll kind of straighten it out, and that kind of brings everything together. And you'll know you're doing it right. Like these parts right here that you brought around those arms, they will peg in right there, and you can peg in the parts of the front of the tank together like that, and then you close the feet up into the backs of the arms, and that tightens all that up, and then you can just flip the front of the H.I.S. tank down, and it'll sit in place. And then what you do is all right, this part of the canopy right here, it's got this part, which is the actual canopy, and then it's got the holder for it, and you flip that up. It's on like kind of clicky, indents. You flip that up, and then you can just bring the whole thing around. You have to kind of wiggle it a little bit. Wiggle it just a little bit, and it will sit in place. And there, it is supposed to like plug in down here, and sometimes I can get it to do it, sometimes I can't, but yeah, I think I'm getting it this time. One side wants to plug in more than the other, but I think I got it that time. Okay, good. That's great. Thanks for cooperating with me, H.I.S. tank Megatron. And then you've got Megatron, which is the funniest thing. Megatron's looking out the back. How dare you? But you take the shield that he had on his arm, and it's actually just the back of the H.I.S. tank, and you plug that in, and it plugs in pretty well. And that little part I was telling you about, it flips up, and it actually is the trailer hitch for the gun that you could drag along behind the H.I.S. original. I can't remember. Was it the H.I.S.S? I can't remember. It was it was another snake name, of course, because it's Cobra. And you can, if you want to, and I want to, you can take Megatron's gun and put it on top, and that really differentiates him from a regular H.I.S. tank. There's some other things, like when you look at the original H.I.S., there's some differences, like the canopy on the Megatron one is more clear. I think the original H.I.S. was kind of a smoky, because I don't have, H.I.S. is like one of my favorite tanks of all time, but I never had one when I was a kid, so I don't know what the vintage one looks like. All I know is the H.I.S. 2 that I have, and you can see that they're pretty close. I mean, you can, of course, you can see things like the lines here where the panels split, and you can see, like on the sides here, you can see the panels right here. And usually that's, if a transformer is a really good transformer, that's usually the only way you can tell it's a transformer, is the panel lines on it where things split. But they did a pretty good job of hiding a lot of the panel lines on this. Another thing too is the Megatron turret, but you take that off, and they're pretty close. It's pretty close to the original. Like, they copied details on both of them that are really good. Now the original, or not the original, but the H.I.S. tank 2, it has, I got cat hair everywhere, yay, it has stickers here for the little gun turret. This one doesn't, and that's fine. But what's nice is, on this tank, they were stickers, like the details were stickers. These are tampographed on, so that's on there. That's not going to peel or anything like that. But they're pretty darn close. It's of course this one's blue, but if this one was black, and I've seen videos where they compare the two of them, like the original H.I.S. and this H.I.S., and they're pretty close. I mean, if you look at them straight down the barrel, they look a lot alike, sculpt wise. Of course, you can take your Bat or any other G.I. Joe figure and sit them in the turret there. Now, I don't have a driver specifically for this Megatron H.I.S., but I have the one that comes with the H.I.S. 2, so you can take him and put him in the cockpit. Now, Now the Baroness would have fit in this and in the turret too, but like I said, I'm not taking her out the package. So there you go. You've got the Cobra Decepticon Hiss, and it's pretty cool. One thing, I don't. Well, wait a minute. I do. Hold on. I started to say I don't have any Transformer blast effects, but I'd be a liar. Okay. I just don't have any really good ones, because I don't usually use blast effects. Oh, come on. Oh, here we go. I don't really use blast effects on my Transformers. I don't display them that way, but I do have some. So you can put, this is unlike the Hiss, the regular Hiss. He's got blast effects, so you can make the cannons pow, 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 pow. And also, I haven't tested this yet, but yep, you can put a blast effect on to the Megatron's gun and pew, pew, make it pew pew too. And these, the guns should also be compatible with other Transformers, because they all have 5mm pegs. And a lot of people complain about the hollowness of the gun, and I understand it really isn't ideal, but it is what it is. Like I said, if I had paid full price for this, I'd be ticked off at all the hollowness of it. But as it is, it's not bad at all. So overall, I'm very happy with this G.I. Joe Transformer crossover Megatron Hiss tank. It's a really impressive vehicle. Like, they did a fantastic job turning the vehicle into Megatron. The engineering's pretty cool. You can see underneath it, it's a little hollow and all, but you don't want to see underneath the Hiss tank anyway. You'd be dead. But yeah, and you know, it has the feature like the regular Hiss. You can take a figure, and yeah, to show you also, the inside of the cockpit is detailed with the joystick control and all that, and the parts that transform really work together well to make it look like a real cockpit, compared to, you know, like the regular Hiss. It's pretty close. Maybe has even a little bit more detail in it, as far as the stuff going on in here. But you can also, it has the pegs on the back that you can take one of the regular figures and let's see. Oh, is this made for, I think this is made for older G.I. Joe figures, like the vintage ones. Okay, which I don't have any vintage. I don't have any vintage Joes except for the Baroness, and I'm not taking out of the package. But anyway, those peg holes are for the, and that's a difference with the Hiss 2 here, because the Hiss 2 has the peg holes for the more modern size feet. Those are in the front there. Yeah. So, you know, when you peg them in, that's the smaller pegs for the newer guys. The newer guys have the smaller peg system. I don't know what the, no, that's newer. That's newer stuff, so he wouldn't peg in either. Nope. Yeah, I remember the older G.I. Joes had bigger foot pegs, because I remember I used to try to put the vintage G.I. Joes on the Star Wars playsets, and the Star Wars figure peg holes were smaller. They were like that. They were like this size. So, yeah, this is definitely made for vintage figures, and that's cool. Like, I think that's the whole intention of this. The crossover line is to be like the vintage guys. So, yeah. Once again, overall, I am very pleased with this crossover Hiss. It's a cool Megatron, it's a cool Hiss tank, and I love it. And I would recommend it. Would not recommend it at the retail price, but if there's still a sale on it on Amazon, snap one up. I really like it, and I hope this video helps. make sure you check out all the other guys that have done. Mine's really late in the game because I had to wait for the thing to come down in price before I even thought about getting it. But there's a lot of guys that made videos of this, and some of them liked it, some of them really hated it. And hopefully you can add this to the list of opinions whenever you're thinking about getting your own. But I would highly recommend it. I love it. It's it's one of my favorite toys of this year so far. So there you go. Hope that helps. I'll see you next time. Monster Forge out.